Okay, we are back, and we actually have more to talk about than I even know if I can cover. So, I guess first, let's start here. Bring that camera over here. So this is a piece of, is this Nosler brass?
Yes.
Yes, it is. I want you to look at that. And again, I'm not going to stop and take a close-up picture of it or anything. I just want you to see it. There is no flash hole. So look at my face. In other words, there's no flash hole at all. Not at all. It didn't get drilled or it didn't get punched, whichever operation they do. I think they probably punch them. So it means you can get a bad piece of brass and this was in a bunch of 100, but it was 2 different lots of 50. And there's no flash hole. There's no flash hole at all. So I thought you guys might want to see that. So that's why you got to check your brass. But talking about brass, that brings us to this, which is heavy. What do you think this is? See if you can show them that. All right, so what this is 250, I believe 250 pieces of Peterson brass. So I realize we're talking about videos that were in the past, so you'll have to go and look this up. So this video is about this 33XC. Remember this? This is the first barrel. Barrel number 1, we'll call this. Remember, we had bad brass. We had bad Peterson brass. Some of them had like double flash holes punched through them or drilled through them. Some of them had messed up primer pockets. And that one, remember, I cut it in half with a hacksaw. It actually had 2 pieces. It had a false bottom in it. And we had problems, right? We had problems. And so what was really weird is, I don't know who did it, but I didn't do it. Somebody called Peterson. Somebody saw the video, and the customer didn't do it, by the way. I didn't do it, the customer didn't do it. We know that. But we don't know who did it. But somebody who was watching one of our videos called up Peterson and evidently said, hey, did you see they're having a bunch of problem with that 33XC brass? And I guess he's like, no, we didn't know. So he went and watched the video, I guess. This is conjecture. It's secondhand. I don't know for sure. But what I do know is I'm really deaf, and I should have brought it over. I talk on a flip phone, like Star Trek, right, from 1960. This thing's old. And I don't want one of those new modern phones, which I'm going to have to get one because they're discontinuing these. We don't have service anymore. But I can't hear on the phone a lot. So if somebody calls me up and says, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I didn't hear what they said, and they start talking about brass. And I'm like, man, this guy knows about brass. Like, he's talking like headers and pinch trim and bunters and all this stuff. And normal guys don't know that stuff, right? Unless you make ammunition, you don't know all these terms. And I'm like, this guy really knows about brass. And so I'm listening to what he's saying. And then finally he says, well, all those bad ones you had, would you send them to me? And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll send them to you. And I'm like, to who? And he's like, send them to Derek. And I'm like, okay, Derek who? And then he acted like I was stupid. And he's like, Derek Peterson. And I'm like, Derek Peterson. He's like, on the case head. I said, how do you spell it? And then, you understand, I didn't know who I was talking to. So I spent like 45 minutes talking to this guy about brass. And it's Derek Peterson that owns Peterson Brass. Okay? And so I'm like, all right, and then I got it, right? Like, okay, now I understand. So what I will say is he was very knowledgeable about brass, which makes sense, but he was very concerned. He was showing very, very serious concern that brass left their factory that was less than perfect. I mean, that was obvious that he was very concerned. He was concerned as much for his brass as I am for one of my rifles. I could tell that. So he's like, will you send it back? And I'm like, of course. But I didn't send all of them. There was no reason to send it all because a lot of that was fired brass and stuff. What we did is I think I sent him like 11 pieces that were the worst. And I sent it all back to him. And then he put us in touch with the guy who's quality control back at Peterson. And he said, we'll start doing a 3-way email with 4-way really, with the customer, with Mr. Peterson, with this other guy, I can't remember his name, I'm sorry. And with the customer. So there was 4 people on this chain email. And then they started giving us a whole bunch of information, trying to figure out how did that bad brass get out of there, was the whole point. They want to know where in the process. Actually, this is going to be really interesting. What I'm going to say is they're not even certain that it happened there. Because one of the questions he asked me is, did you do anything to this brass? Well, obviously, I uniform flash holes, I uniform primer pockets, I trim to perfect uniform length. I'm talking to like less than a thou. I do a lot of stuff to brass to get it to bench rest level quality brass. And so for a little bit, he's almost like, well, did you do any of this damage? I'm like, well, you don't know me. If you knew me, you would understand. I mean, it's either perfect or it isn't. I don't do damage. Plus, all of my hand tools are old Sinclair tools. It's all hand stuff. Even when I turn it with the drill, it's all, in other words, I don't use one of those case prep centers where I don't do any of that kind of stuff. And that was the way the brass came to me. Now, the interesting thing is the customer had the brass before I had it. And the interesting thing is he got it from Euro Optic. And it's somewhere the chain of custody is lost. They don't know whether it went directly from Peterson to Euro Optic and then straight to the customer, or if it went to someone else and they returned it. So there's a little break in the chain of custody. We don't know. There's things that happen to the brass that we don't know where it happened, right? We don't know who did it, where it happened. We're not sure. Because Mr. Peterson assured me that some of the damage they saw on that brass couldn't happen with the processes they do. So again, we don't know. But what we do know is very shortly after that, a whole box of brand new 33XC showed up. You can see it's sealed. I haven't even opened it. And there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that. And then, of course, that's why I showed this, because I have really good luck with Nosler brass. I think it's way overpriced. But I've had really good luck, like with 30 Nosler, really good brass. In 30 Nosler, 28 Nosler, really good brass, high quality stuff. But you know, it's mass produced. That's what you got to realize, people. All this stuff is made by the millions. So anyways, it can happen anywhere. It's just so it's weird that then I'm working with this and it happened. By the way, I couldn't think of the cartridge. See, I can't see without my glasses. 7mm08 is what this was. And that's in another video, a video you're going to be seeing soon. We took out some factory guns and did Accurizing to them and shot them. And that was some interesting results too. But that's not what this is about. So I'm actually going to, get this out of my way a little bit. So that potentially is completely resolved. Anybody that has issues with Peterson brass, I mean, they went above and beyond to try to make sure that that's never going to happen again, if it even happened there, and to make it right with the customer. So that was very good. All right, now, beyond that, this is the 33XC from you-know-where, and this is the first barrel. Okay, we've already taken this barrel off. I put the new barrel on. But before I did it, I did something that I've never done before with a bat receiver. I went in and lapped the lugs just to get them absolutely perfect. And the truth is, let's say perfect is 100%. They were probably at 98%. The contact was almost perfect, but I went ahead and went in there and lapped those lugs and got them to 100%. Okay, the next thing I did is third receiver screw. So, you know, this is a dummy, by the way. That is into a discussion, but it's blind, right? It doesn't touch the action at all. That's the rear one. That is now the middle one. This is the front one that had been in it. Okay, and by the way, there's an angle on there. There has to be, because there's an angle on the stock, and the bolt needs to pull straight. But I don't know if you can look in there. So there's another quarter 28. And here's the deal. I have never, you realize these receivers are like $1,800 and I've never drilled a hole through one. It's like, wow, that's pretty scary. So I called up Daryl and I said, Daryl, with the tooling and stuff I have, do you think I can get through that and tap it and make everything work? And he's like, yes, we discussed what to do, and he said, yes, you can do it. And so I did, because these receivers were melanited first, and I didn't know how hard it would be. That's just a good piece of information. Any machinist will tell you that. Before you go trying to get a hole through something, you better know that you have tooling that's hard enough to do it, you know? So anyways, I got a third screw in it. I went over the bedding on this. This gun could not have better bedding. I mean, it is flawless, okay? And adding that third screw, I couldn't tell anything. I mean, it's just as good as it can possibly be. So I went, oh, and I also added weight to the forearm, okay? And again, I want to take it out and show you, but I added lead to the forearm. So we gained maybe, I don't know, we might have gained a pound, I don't know. Also, this cheek piece was a little bit loose, the actual studs that go down in the stock, and I didn't like that. So I pulled all the hardware out and I re-epoxied all that back down in, and now there's no wiggle in it. I mean, it's, here, I can show you that, what that looks like down in there. Anyway, so that is, the point is, it's as good as you can possibly get it, all right? So, we went out to shoot as an afterthought. We did not go out to shoot this gun. This is an important part of the story. Another customer came here from Pocatello, Idaho. He came here last Thursday. Today is Sunday. He was here till last night at like, well, we were here 10:30, 11, huh? Yes. He brought an older Remington Sendero that showed potential. He bought it used. It showed potential. He doesn't know exactly what the round count is. And he wanted to learn bedding because he had tried to bed it himself and he thought he did a horrible job. When I pulled it apart, I actually didn't think it was that bad, really. And I did my stand it up and turn the screws and feel what it felt really good. It actually felt good. I don't know if I'd say it was perfect. It didn't look pretty, but it was actually not bad bedding. But anyways, he wanted to learn bedding. So we ground all that back out of there and we did a really, really nice bedding job. I mean, it came out nice. It came out so nice, I wish it was here to show you. It came out so nice that I didn't want to quit. See, I never want to quit because I want to see if these guns will really shoot. So then I looked at the crown on the gun and it was okay, you know what I mean? But we put it in the lathe. We spent quite a bit of time getting an absolutely perfect crown on that thing, and boy, it came out nice. Another thing we did, which was before that, it had one land in it that was copper fouled bad, like really bad. And so, man, he and I together, two guys working at it, we ran wet patch after wet patch, and then we brushed it. Brush going one way, taking the brush back off, pulling the rod. But anyways, we worked on that thing for 2 or 3 hours, trying to get it perfectly clean. And it did clean up really good, except for that one land. That one land still had a little bit of copper showing on it when we were done. So we did that, and then he had already lapped the lugs in it. So I went back and checked over that. That looked good. It had a chimney trigger in it, and then we put a one-piece rail on it. He had 2-piece bases on it, and they didn't really fit that great. We put a one-piece rail on it with a recoil shoulder in it, and we didn't have time to run 840s in it, so we just used the 648s. But with that recoil shoulder, that's all right. And it was a lighter scope that he's going to put on. It was actually a Citron. I talk about this. This video is coming. It'll be on the back end of where we're talking right now because we shot yesterday. So anyways, what we were doing is we were going out to shoot his gun. And what we had was factory loads. And I took like, I don't know what all I took. I think I'm going to show you on the video. I took like 3 or 4 different kinds. It was 300 Winchester. 3 or 4 different kinds of higher end factory ammo. And we put my Premier on it to do the testing. And we went to a totally new place. The wind was blowing like crazy, but there was lulls in it. So it was actually a good place to shoot. Long ways away though, 90 miles from here where we're at. And you know what, that gun shot. And it shot pretty darn good. I mean, there's a lot of custom guns that don't shoot any better than it does. I mean, and the thing is, this is why, it was real consistent. It shot everything the same. Different bullet weights, it shot everything. It was shot really good. I mean, not one hole, but it was really good. And it was funny, because I have a lot of extra barrels here, And when we had that gun apart, I'm like, we should rebarrel this. Especially because that land was fouled so bad. I'm like, we should rebarrel it. And he's like, I don't have the money to do that. And I'm like, all right, well, if you don't, you don't. And we'll do the best we can. Well, it shot good. The only thing is, he doesn't know how many rounds are through it. You know what I mean? It could have 700 rounds through it. It might not have that much barrel life. Okay, that's beside the point. Then, because we had extra time, I had brought this gun with me. Now you gotta realize, I did not load for it. All I had with me, I think, was 25, the remaining 25 rounds of Sierra Match Kings when I was shooting that and just quit and gave up. But I had it there, and we had everything set up, and we could shoot 200 yards there. Next time when I was going to shoot this gun, I really wanted to shoot it at 400. That was kind of important. But we were there. We had 200 yards. I mean, it was a pretty good place. It started to get calmer as it got toward evening. And so I moved my Premier scope off of his gun onto this gun. And you realize it was a brand new barrel. It had never been fired. So I took one to get on at 50. And then I put one on at 100. And then I think I stopped, I cleaned the gun, and it did not foul very bad. It ran blue, but not very bad, and it cleaned up quick. Remember, these are Bruxes. And these are twin barrels, essentially. Then I think I shot a 3-shot group. So I gotta look here, I gotta see what this is. So this is, Vicki, you tell me if I can't see this right. This is shots 2, 3, 4.
Correct.
At 100 yards. Shots 2, 3, 4. Now, I want you to pay attention that this is pure vertical in that. All right? Because this plays into this story. Pure vertical. Okay, so then I think what is that? 2, 3, 4. So I stopped. I cleaned the gun. I must have put 5 in the dirt. Number 5. So this is still 100 yards. This is 6, 7, 8. Again, I want you to notice, pure vertical. Pure vertical in that. Okay?
And that's 3 shots.
3 shots, right. That's not 2 shots, that's 3 shots. 2 through that one hole, I can't even tell. Okay, then I think I stopped, cleaned the gun, right. Okay, maybe I didn't. No, 9 and 10. So then what we did is I saw that and I said, let's just go straight to 200, right? I think that's what I did. So this is 200 yards.
2 shots.
That's 2 shots. And we have a video of this. You'll see me. And I know people are going to be like, well, why didn't you shoot 3 shots? Let me tell you something. If you're man enough to come here and shoot that 33 XC and put them all through one hole, 3 shots, well, you come and do it. Because once I did that, I'm like, holy cow. Because this has been a lot of stress on us. And I'm like, I think we're there, right? 2 shots right through that hole. Now, here's something I got to say, because I didn't realize what was going on. You notice. Pure vertical, but 2 through one hole. 2 through one hole, but I quit at 2 shots, only because I wasn't tough enough to, I just couldn't do it. I mentally couldn't shoot that 3rd shot and ruin that. This is the pedestal I was shooting off of. And I have multiple pedestals, multiple tops. But on those vertical ones, I did not reach up here and loosen up the sand in this. And I still didn't, I hadn't figured it out yet right here. So then I stayed at 200 yards. I think I stopped, I cleaned the gun, and then I wanted to go right back to that, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna put all 3 right through one hole because I've got this already. Well, the next, and I don't have the target here, the next group looked just like that, pure vertical, 2 touching, 1 above it. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I stopped, I cleaned the gun again, I put 1 or maybe 2 in the dirt now, I can't remember. By the way, you gotta see these things break rocks. These things will bust a rock like that. Them 300 grain bullets hit hard. So I shot 3 more 3-shot group. Maybe I only shot a 2-shot group because it was the same thing. 1 down and 1 up, pure vertical. And see, I got certain habits. If you watch me on video, I'll reach up and do things, but I don't do it every single time, which is a big mistake. It suddenly occurred to me while I was sitting there, because I got another vertical group. It suddenly occurred to me while I was sitting there, it's almost like I heard Speedy Gonzalez talking in my head. And I remember reading this too. If you see bullets that are, and by the way, there was wind. It should have been horizontal. It should have not been pure vertical. It can be in your front rest. And so I only had now 3 more shells is all I had. That was down to my last shells. So I reached up and I loosened up the sand. By the way, I'm going to change this. I've already decided on that. I'm changing out the sand in this bag. We're going to go to that here in a second. I reached up, I fluffed the bag, I fired a shot. I lifted the gun off of it, reached up, fluffed the bag, I fired a shot. I reached up, did it again, 3 shots. This is it. At 200 yards. Now if you wonder, that measures like 1.1. And again, there was quite a bit of wind. But that's the first one then that had horizontal in it, not vertical. And then I was out of ammo. Here's the deal. I mean, there's a lot of deals here. I mean, if you're actually watching this, and again, I've thought about it. I remember him talking, Speedy talking about getting vertical out of your rest, right? Out of your pedestal top. And I got multiple different kinds of pedestals, multiple different kinds of tops. But you realize this is an A3. It's only that wide. I mean, it's basically almost a sporter stock. So this is where this gets really interesting. This gun has too much weight out there. Even when it has a 3-pound scope on it. This gun feels like this. And I've been trying to think about this back through all the guns I've ever built. I don't know that I ever had a gun that was that much weight out on the front, but had such little stock right here. And by the way, it isn't bouncing off of there. That was one of the thoughts I had. Okay, is it touching the stock under recoil? By the way, this is also something that's interesting. So we had the guy that owned his name's Cooper. Cooper was here, went shooting with us. That's his Sendero. He was watching me. This is the first time I had someone there to watch me. The first thing he said was, you can't believe the muzzle blast coming off of this thing. He said he could see it on the ground, and we had the canopy up, but there was leaves and stuff around where I'm at. You'll see it in the video. He said you could see that shockwave literally moving out ahead of me. And he said he could see me going to the rear. And I will say something. You know, I have now, through this receiver, I was going to say through this gun, I have 115 rounds. 115 rounds. And those first 90 hurt me bad. I mean, it snapped my neck. I mean, I was dizzy for days. This time, it was weird. It didn't seem to hurt me as much as it had the other times. And the only thing I can attribute that to is the bench setup. And again, if you're not a bench rest shooter, you're not going to understand any of this stuff. But if you shoot off of, say you shoot at a regular range, a real official range, places they hold bench rest matches, everybody acknowledges and knows that you can shoot better off of some benches than others. You can shoot better at some ranges than others. I'm not just talking about atmospheric conditions. I'm talking about how you set up. When you sit down at the gun, how the gun feels. And depending on where the targets are, whether the gun's slightly downhill, or say the targets are slightly uphill, or whether it's perfectly level, how the gun comes back. And it has a lot to do, and it also has to do with where your seat is. Whether it's hitting you like this from the side, or you're more behind it, and it's moving you like this, okay? And all this, by the way, goes into what kind of performance you can get out of the gun. And by the way, I just thought of something. Here's something else interesting about different ranges all around the country. I'm talking about ranges that they hold bench rest matches at. The records are always set at the same ranges. So yes, atmospheric conditions play a role in that. There's no doubt about it. If like over at Missoula, if you're more protected from the wind, and depending on many factors, the atmospheric stuff plays a huge role. But I am thoroughly convinced, as there are a lot of other bench rest shooters, that your actual setup, the bench itself, the seat, the whole deal contributes to all this. Because anyways, this gun didn't hurt me as bad. It did not hurt me as bad as it had the previous 2 times. So I've shot this gun in 3 different places, right? 3 different places I've shot this gun. This was by far and away a better place to shoot it. All right, all that to say, I think that I got to be very careful now how I say all this. I had called that a bad barrel. What I think is, it is not a great barrel. Okay? Calling it a bad barrel might be a misnomer. What I think is not a Hummer. From a scale of 1 to 100, with 100 being a Hummer, it's maybe only a 60, a 65, or a 70, somewhere in there. So that was definitely part of what was going on. It was that barrel. The next thing, there's no doubt that we had bad brass, and I would call that bad brass. When you got double flash holes and mangled primer pockets and extra pieces of brass down inside the case, obviously that's bad brass. Plus that brass, when I did all the work to it, it wasn't uniform. It wasn't as uniform as it should have been. All right, so we had a barrel, we had brass. Oh, I wanted to bring them in. Remember that box of Berger bullets that initially I was thoroughly convinced that that's a bad batch of Berger bullets. Well, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking it's the same as the barrel. I'm not saying they're bad. What I'm saying is they weren't Superman bullets. They weren't good bullets. That doesn't mean they're horrible. It just means that they were half-minute bullets. That's it. That's all them bullets were going to shoot. And again, I'm pulling all this just off the top of my head, trying to make a judgment call on this stuff. But I want to tell you something else that I think. Oh, one other huge deal. I returned the customer scope, and we're not going to talk about that. There's no reason to open a can of worms. I sent his scope back. I shot this yesterday with my Premier on it. And if you want to buy my Premier, send me $50,000 and you can have my Premier. Okay? Not $49,999. It's $50,000 even. You pay shipping. Okay. So you can have my Premier for 50 grand. I think this gun shoots now. But this is the huge, huge disclaimer. This gun is not built properly. And what I mean is, this is not the right configuration. This customer wanted to make this an elk gun and a target gun. Anytime you try to make one thing do 2 jobs, what it's going to do is it's going to do each job half as good as it could have done if you would have made it specialized. So, I just heard someone say this. You don't haul hay with your Ferrari. And you don't take your 1-ton Dodge diesel to Le Mans. A race car is a race car. A work truck is a work truck. It's not the same. They're not the same things. They don't do the same thing. I should have never agreed to put this big of a cartridge. Because again, you've got to be clear here what we're talking about. Okay? This thing, we shot 300 Winchester yesterday first. I shot the 300 Winchester first. A 300 Winchester in a Sendero rifle was like a BB gun. I don't know, like a 243 compared to this. All right? I should have never did this combination of metal with this stock. I should have never done it. And so from this point forward, if you call me up and you want a 33XC, I'm going to say, and I'm not even sure about this, because I've already kind of said this. I was initially thinking a Macmillan A5 is the smallest stock as I'm going to go. I don't know. Again, now I've 115 rounds later, I'm thinking A6-7 Bag Rider or Thule MBR. In other words, something with a 3 or 4 inch wide forearm. And if you're like, well, I can't take that hunting. Well, then you know what? Don't build a 33XC as a hunting gun. I mean, that's just the bottom dollar, bottom line thing. This gun is too hard to shoot. I actually believe right now that it's capable of driving the bullets through the exact same hole at 200 yards, but you ain't never gonna do it. A young Tony Boyer couldn't do it. There's too much going on. And the fact that I think that it was bouncing off of this pedestal, I think it's because there's so much weight out here. There's so much weight, and that barrel is so long, and there's such a big vibration traveling down that. That's a lot of barrel time, that I think that's where all that vertical is. But as a conclusion, kind of a conclusion, because I still have to show you a couple other things. We've come all this way to learn exactly what we knew at the beginning. Good guns shoot, bad guns don't. Don't spend a minute on a bad gun. If it doesn't pound them right through one hole right at the beginning, probably every single thing you do is never going to get it to pound them all through one hole. The deal is, and here, this is the interesting thing about that statement. So here's two barrels, right? So I definitely think this barrel is much superior to that barrel. But I'm willing to bet that if you had put that barrel in, say, a A6-7 bag rider, that it would have at least been acceptable. It never would have been a Hummer, but it would have been acceptable. So now this is where else I'm going with this. The customer doesn't know what has occurred as of yesterday. So, well, he does know that I sent his scope back, and he's like, well, I'll just have to send it back. No, we don't want that scope back, okay? I'll shoot my Premier when it gets down. When the going gets tough, I'm shooting the Premier. All right, but beyond that, I guess I'm gonna give the customer a choice. I can redo the fit and finish, everything. I can bead blast this all back out, re-door coat it, get it engraved, make it perfect, and send him this gun, that brass, all the stuff. Send it all to him, and then it's up to him. If he wants to keep working with it to try to get it to shoot one hole, that's up to him. But I think it's impossible. I really do. I think it's impossible. I don't think that you can shoot this configuration, which he chose, by the way. He chose. And I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have agreed to it. This should have never been in an A3. Oh, something else. I almost missed this. So, since we started this whole 33XC series of videos, a lot of guys who own 33XCs called me up. This is something that was very interesting. I suppose I talked to maybe a dozen different guys that shoot 33XC, own 33. Some of them own multiple ones. The lightest gun that anybody had that I can recall was 22 pounds. This gun weighs 17 with the scope. Did I say 17 with the scope, or was it? I think it was 17 with the scope. So anyways, this is way lighter. 22 pounds was the lightest gun that anybody had, and most of them, the average I would say was in the 32 to 34 pound range. So most guys that are shooting 33XC are in that mid 30 pound range. Well, the camera went dead, white in mid-sentence, because it's so hot in here. It's so hot in Idaho. It's so hot in Lewiston, Idaho. If you live somewhere else and you're thinking about moving to Lewiston, just understand it goes to 120 degrees here routinely. It gets hot here. Anyways, what I was saying is the weight of the guys' guns that are shooting it, most of them on the light end are like 22 pounds, and on the heavy end is like, I don't know, nobody said 40 pounds, but they're anywhere in that range. Most of them were in the 30s. And I thought of something, again, from years ago, that people know the one part of it, but not the other. Everybody knows if a gun is too light and too big of a cartridge, you can't shoot it. It doesn't matter how accurate it may theoretically be, you can't shoot it, right? Because it's too light. But what would they also learn, the 1,000-yard guys learned, and I'm talking like back in the late 60s, 70s, into the early 80s, is guess what? They also won't shoot if you build them too heavy. A lot of guys don't realize that. And a lot of guys at Williamsport in that time period, in like the late 70s, mid 80s, I mean, some of them guys were shooting guns that weighed over 100 pounds. I mean, big barrels, big, massive laminated wood stocks and stuff. Take two guys, or they used to take little golf carts that you walk with, and convert that into a gun carrier. And that's how they would haul the gun from the truck over to the bench. And then a lot of times two guys would put that gun up there on that bench. That's how heavy those guns were. But what they learned is those guns didn't win. And so I shouldn't say they didn't shoot. They didn't win. So when you get guns that are too light, you just can't shoot them, even if they could win. And when you get guns that are too heavy, even though they're easier to shoot, for some reason, they don't win. It has to do with with the recoil impulse and the vibration. It has to do with a lot of stuff that nobody knows the answer to, but the deal is great big guns don't shoot either. But what we do know about this is it won't shoot to its potential as it is. So this is going to be, hopefully, this is the end of the 33XC saga, unless the customer decides that he wants to buy like a Thule MBR or a A6-7 bag rider. If he wants to buy a stock that is conducive to shooting small groups out of a cartridge this big with metal work this big, and then he's going to buy the stock and we're going to start over. So he will then, because I'm pretty much at the end of doing everything for free. And I would have to rebed it, do brass work, take it out, the whole process again. In other words, days, maybe even weeks more worth of work to see whether we can get this to consistently put bullets through the exact same hole at 200 yards. And again, I'd rather shoot at 400. But if he's willing to do all that, I may go that route. But if not, hopefully, potentially, I don't know if I should say hopefully, because it's really weird. I'm such a shooter and I'm so obsessed with accuracy that part of me wants to put it in a bench rest stock, and I hate myself for that. You know what I mean? I mean, man, if we put it in full-blown bench rest stock, it might drive them all through one hole. Oh my God. See you later. All right, so we're in a new place. We drove 90 miles. Wind is blowing like a hurricane. It's been raining. It's just a miserable day. So what we got here is, look here. So we got a Remington 700 Sendero, an older one. There's a fella here with us. He wanted to learn bedding. So we came, and he came to the shop. He's been here. How long you been here now? 3 days?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so he's been here 3 days, and we rebedded it. We recrowned it. We put a rail on it. I don't know what else we did to it. I think that's it. So, and we've got factory ammo that we're gonna shoot out of it. He actually has some hand loads too. But then here's the real deal. It's back. 33XC from hell. So, the old barrel we took off, this is the new barrel. Unfired at this point. Now all I got some of the leftover ammo that I shot when we were out and it wouldn't shoot. Although it's the Sierra Match Kings, it's what shot best. So whether we're really gonna get to test it today, I don't know, but turn around and look at the wind. So we got bad wind, and it's actually getting better right now. So that's where we're at. We're gonna get that on the paper, and then I've got a bunch of different, I got I got 4 different kinds of factory loads for it, and he has hand loads for it. So we're gonna get it on the paper with my old Premier. And, oh, and by the way, we've been having trouble with that gun fouling. There's a land in it that's just completely, looks like the yellow brick road, a lot of copper. And we cleaned, what do you think? We probably cleaned for 2 hours yesterday trying to get it out of there. So that's gonna be something we're gonna have to fight also. Anyways, that's where we're at. So we're gonna shoot. Vicky, 7, 8. Okay, so we just put 8 rounds of this Federal 180 grain soft point. Again, blue box stuff. And I get a 4-shot group with a big flyer that was like right at the beginning, the very first one. And then I did a 3-shot group that's not half bad. So she's gonna run down there and show you that because we don't have a camera downrange. So take that with you and go show them that.
Yeah, she can come.
Oh, by the way, turn around here again. So tell them also, pretty good numbers. That last one went across there, 2,944 feet a second.
Nice.
All right, go down there.
Come on, babe.
What I want.
Okay.
Okay, so we just put 3 more through it. This is 100 yards, by the way. And boy, really good numbers. It was 28-15, 28-17, 28-24. I want you to see this. A lot of people have never even seen this ammo. It's kind of rare. Can you see that?
Kind of got a glare on it. There we go.
So it's 300 Winchester, Federal Gold Medal. This is 215 grain Berger OTM, open tip match. Anyways, run down there and look at the group.
We're gonna be a champion. And the champion of the USA.
There you go. 3 shots, factory ammo, 300 Win Mag. All right, come on, baby girl.
Oh, ready? Let me get down to the part where I...
All right, so we just put 4 190 grain Sierra Match Kings through there, and I had 2 literally through basically 1 hole. And then I put one away. When I say away, I put it about an inch away, and then I put the other one almost touching the other 2, but that was simply too much pressure. But I want to show you something. Unless you're in the military, you probably never saw that. This is Mod 0. So I actually heard Frank Green say the other day, now there's Mod 1 and Mod 2. I think Mod 2 has 220 grain Sierra Match Kings in it. Anyways, if any 300 Winchester factory ammo is going to shoot 1 hole, it's going to be this white box. But again, most people have never even seen it. Run down there and show them what that looks like. And again, in pretty bad wind. Show them the wind.
Okay. $190 grain Federal Gold Medal white box. 300 Win Mag.
Okay, so we shot 3 different kinds of factory 300 Winchester ammo out of this. We shot 180 grain soft point blue box, and that was this, which is pretty good. Here, you hold that. And then we shot Federal 215 grain gold medal, which is this, which is pretty dang good. And then we shot the white box, 190 grain Sierra Match King, and I called that shot right there. This one here, I'm putting my finger over, I definitely pulled that one out. I felt it when I did it. So again, pretty darn good. So here's the deal. Like I said, we bedded it, we crowned it, we put a rail on it. Did we do anything else to it?
We cleaned it.
All right, we cleaned it for hours. Right, we cleaned it for hours. This was a used gun, right?
Yes.
Used gun. Watch out, you got a bee on you. So we don't know how many rounds are through this gun, but you got it off a gun broker, right?
Yes.
But I want to show you something. Look here. You might not be able to see this. See how that metal is all distorted right there on what I call primary extraction? That's from this bolt handle hitting into the receiver. The receiver is always harder. And when when it is smeared that bad, it's not like it has 10 or 20 or 30 shots through it. It's possible this gun has hundreds of shots through it. We don't know. What we do know is there's one land in this barrel that is was solid yellow. Just as much copper, and we never got it all out, right?
No.
I mean, we tried and tried and tried.
Had to give up.
Right, we pretty much just gave up. But you see, it shoots pretty good. So here's the big question now. So, because he was here, by the way, Cooper, he was here for like 3 days, like we said. So all the work we did, would you say it's worth it? Or do you think that's too much work for too little gain?
Ah.
How many hours do you think we have in it?
2 long days.
At least probably 24 hours. Huh?
Yeah.
So we probably got 24 hours
and
of
then
actual
shooting today.
Right. And so it's always a judgment call, because you could have brought it out here and maybe it didn't shoot. You do all that work on a factory gun and maybe it doesn't shoot. Just so happens this one does. So it's all good. It's good. I'm glad everything turned out. I mean, them are pretty good groups for a factory gun and factory ammo.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yes.
So we're going to quit on this gun. We're going to take my scope off, put his scope on. By the way, he has a Citron S3. I don't know if we've talked about that before. As a less expensive scope, those Citrons are pretty darn good scopes. So anyways, we're going to take this off, put his on, get it zeroed up, then clean, and then this gun's done. And then we're going to go to the 33 XC from hell and maybe see what it'll do. All right. Okay, so HR 2027, right? It's the 33 XC that we had the first Brux barrel on that didn't shoot the way we needed it to shoot. And now this is the second Brux barrel, but I want to show you something. Come over here. So we were just shooting a 300 Winchester, right? So that's a 300 Winchester, and here, let me set them down. That's a 300 Winchester, that's a 33 XC. Quite a difference. All right, so I'm gonna shoot this thing here. You can put that back, put that away. Or just hold it in your hand till I'm gonna get on paper, okay?
Okay.
Are you gonna get behind me? You don't wanna stand up here, come back here.
Yeah.
Leave that run. You ready? Watch your ears. Wow, almost perfect. An inch high, dead center. I saw it hit on another hill over there. Did you see that? Did you see the dirt flying? You're too far away. Stand behind me.
I saw
All
it.
right, so we're gonna go to 100. You got a new target up down there?
I do.
This is a mess. All right, you ready?
Ready.
We're going to 100. By the way, that one across there, 3,025 feet a second. So, that was the very first shot out of this barrel, right?
Yes.
Cool. All right. All right, I'm going to 100. All right, going to 100. Okay, watch it hit down there at the 200 yard in the rocks. Got wind everywhere. I'm just gonna shoot right through it. About an inch. Go ahead and run down. I got 2 touching, 1 away vertical. So the wind's not doing it. Go ahead and run down and show it.
Shots 2, 3, and 4, 33XC, new barrel.
Yard box, there's a rock right there in the sun. Do you see it? Are you running?
Yeah,
Huh?
Yeah.
You see what I'm talking about?
a rock in the sun.
Right over, look, stand, look right down the gun. I don't want to hit the top of the chronograph though.
Okay, yes, I do see it.
So I'll put it right over top of the 50-yard box. Wait a minute, is it gonna hit it? No. Wow, is that wind strong. You see, if you look straight over top of the chronograph, straight over top of the 50-yard rock box, there's some rocks like
Yes,
this
I see it.
that are light colored. Do you
Yes.
see them?
Yes,
You see them?
yes, it looks
All
like
right,
they're
that's
sitting...
what I'm gonna hit. Ready?
Ready.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna hit that one. Gotta make sure I'm not gonna shoot the chronograph. All right, I think I'm good. Ready? Wow. You see which way the wind's going down there. Did
Yeah.
you see that?
Yep.
Straight up. Cool. All right. All right, I'm going back to 100. Where are you?
Right here.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Look at the flags. Where are you? You see the flags?
Yeah, they're everywhere.
They're being pushed down. Do you see that? They're all being pushed down. All right, I'm gonna shoot. Touching the dot. Where are you?
Over here.
You feel this? Where's it? Is it coming straight up this bank? Look, you see what's going on here. So these, you see this? These 3 are going this way. Those 3 down there are going the opposite way, coming at us. Holy cow!
It's a little windy.
I mean, look at that. They're going to, look at that. These three and those three are going opposite directions. You see that?
There you go.
I don't know what to do. You see something behind us?
No, I was just looking at the trees.
I mean, look how hard
growing.
those trees are whipping. All right, well, it's kind of letting down a little bit here. Where you at?
Here.
Half inch. It's letting up a little bit. Two, you're gonna have to go down and look at that. You can't tell I fired 3 shots. Go down and look.
High low.
I got ahead of you.
The grasshopper was hit me in the face. Whoops.
Hi.
That's my darling. Wow. Holy macaroni.
Whoa. He's good.
There's our 3 shots. 2 through the exact same hole. 33 XC shots 6, 7, and 8.
All right, so come over here. So there's now 8 shots through this second Brooks barrel. Come over here and see. So we got 3 people here. There's 3 shots there. Which one is it? Is it that one? I think it's that one. Can you see that?
I would say you're probably right. Just 'cause it's darker.
The point is, it went right through the exact same hole, so close that we can't even tell. So this is definitely showing a lot more potential than the other barrel. So here's the thing: we want to go to distance now. I don't want to shoot this gun any more than 100 yards. I think that's foolish. I think that was part of our mistake. We should have went straight to distance with the first time around. But the problem is the wind is just howling down there. So I don't know what we're gonna do. We can go to 200 here. So I don't know. We'll let you know. See ya. Switch, please. All right, so I just fired shots 9 and 10 at 200 yards. I'm looking through my Premier 5 to 25. I saw what's on the target. Vicky, give me that camera. Vicky, Hilo, and Cooper were all standing down here downrange. The target is over there. So I want them to come over and I want you guys to see this. Here, Vicky, come on.
It's pretty precarious rock climb, so don't
That's all
fall.
right. It's been very windy for a second there. The flags laid down, and I watched the downrange flags. I was not watching the mid-range flags. But this We never have a camera when stuff like this happens.
Yeah.
Come on, Hilo, get up here. Don't touch the box, though.
Don't fall.
I know I've been doing this a half story.
Yes. I'm the one that'll fall.
No.
Don't touch it.
Wow.
Wow.
Look at that.
Go ahead up here, Vicky.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
All we needed was...
Here. Go ahead up there.
Oh God. I look awful.
Here, I'll show them.
Okay.
So again, that shot's 9 and 10 at 200 yards. And the chronograph readings, I have to go back and look, but they were almost identical. I think they were like 3001 and 3000. And that's, I believe, 300 grain Sierra Match Kings. So, you think how long a journey this has been with that gun. Obviously, that other barrel was it just wasn't, I hate to say it was a bad barrel, but it wasn't a great barrel. I would say this is showing potential to be a great barrel. Now, there's only 2 shots there, and so you realize what's going on here right now. It's like, okay, are we gonna go back up there and put a 3rd shot on there? And you know, I can't take the pressure, to be quite honest. So I don't know whether we will or whether we won't, but maybe we'll put up a different target. What I'd really like to do is, I might leave that scope on there and go and shoot it. I'd really like to shoot it at 400, but where we're set up here, we can't shoot 400. So I don't know, but that may be the end of the 33XC saga. I don't know, but wow, that is amazing. 2 through literally 1 hole at 200 yards.